Welcome to a new class of full stack web development. In this class, I'm going to be using all the things that we've learned in our previous classes, and then I'm going to apply it to create a basic portfolio web page. Now, creating a basic portfolio web page is basically very simple. You just have to follow up a couple of steps and a couple of things that I've shown you in my classes, and you will reach, or let's say, create the end result. But if you have no prior experience, then follow it up because I'm going to show you all of the steps that you can use to create the basic portfolio web page. So without any further ado, let's open up VS Code on our device and let's get started with programming. First of all, you can see on my screen, I have opened up VS Code. Now, first off, we have to create a new folder. So I'm going to create a new folder. Here, I'm going to put in portfolio web. That's the name of the folder. Now, inside the folder, I'm going to create new files. Now, we have this inside of it, so I'm just going to delete it. I'm going to select on this, and then I'm going to create a new folder. There we go. Now, inside this, I'm going to create 3 separate files, such as the main web page, then the styling, which is for CSS, and also the interactivity, which is optional, but I'm going to show you just in case which or what we're going to go through in this course. First off, I'm going to put in index.html, HTML. Then the next thing that we want to create is style.css. And the last one that we want to create is basically for JavaScript. So I'm going to put in script.js. Now, even though we're going to be using script and I did not cover up JavaScript yet, so I'm going to make sure that I only apply a small part of it so you can get an understanding of what we are going to be doing throughout this whole course. So first off, what we want to do is we want to open up the index.html file and we're going to add a basic structure. So first off, we're going to put in doctype HTML. Then here, I'm going to put in HTML, and then I'm going to put in language equal to EN. Now, when you define it better like this, it's going to be like on English. Now, the next thing that you want to do is you can apply in meta charset if you want to, or meta name, which is going to be a viewport. And also it's going to contain the content of this whole web page. If you don't want to, it is also totally fine because it's still going to adjust itself how you want it to be. Inside this HTML, I want to enter my title of this web page, which is going to be my portfolio. Now, I'm also going to make sure I connect it with my style.css. So first things first, what you want to do is type in a link rel equal style sheet. This is how you want to put it. After this, put in href, and it's going to be equal to the style.css file. So put in style.css. And then you want to close off the tag and then move on to the next section. Now you also have to make sure that every part of it is inside the head tag. So type in head, and I'm going to make sure I cut this, Control X, and I paste it right at the end of this link file. So now we are done with the head. Now let's enter our body. Now this is where everything or every content is going to be shown. So first off, I'm going to start off with the header. Now this header tag is going to contain a title. So I'm going to make sure to put in h1 so that I have the title tag. Now here, I'm going to put in my portfolio. After h1, I'm going to create a nav tag. This nav tag is basically going to help me to put my unordered list. So here, ul inside li, close it off, and here I'm going to open up another one. I'm going to put in a href. Now, inside of ahref, I'm going to put in double quotation. Then what you want to do here, I'm going to put in a hash. Okay, so hash, this is how you want to put it. Now, this hash is basically going to put me, or it's going to show me what I want to put inside, okay, as the specific value. So here in this line, or in this first list, I want an about info. So here, I want to close off the tag, and inside, I'm going to put in about. Okay, now this li should close over here. In the same way, li, open it up, a href equal double quotation, put in a hash, and here I want projects. Close off the tag. As you can see, I'm going to put in double quotation. Now here, as the a tag has been closed, I'm going to define in projects. Now after projects, I'm going to make sure to close off my a at the end. Now the last one that I want to apply over here, li open tag a href equal hash. Now here I'm going to put in the contact. Okay, double quotation, close off the tag, and there we go. Now you can see that the a has also been closed. So here I'm going to put in the contact in between. So this is basically how you want to put it, and we should be closed with the nav and also the header. Now let's move on and apply our section ID. Section, as you can see, I'm going to put in section ID is going to be equal to about. Now this about is basically going to have the info about yourself, or let's say the user. So as this is inside and not a total header, as this is a subheader, like I've shown you in my previous class, you use h2 for the subheader. Here I'm going to put in about me. So this is how it looks like. So we have the specific section. I'm going to make sure I put in Control Z. Now after about me, you can see I have h2. So I'm going to keep it just like this. Now on the next line, I'm going to put in a paragraph tag, which is going to help me to define what I want to make it appear. So here I'm going to put in, I'm a beginner designer specialized in t-shirt design. Okay, so we should be done with the paragraph tag too. And then you can see we have the section ending. So I'm going to make sure that this section ends right over there. Now I'm going to create other sections for project and also for contact. So I'm going to put in section ID equal double quotation. After about, we had projects. Okay, now make sure it is the same as this one inside, not about this one, which is basically going to be a text. So we have the projects. On the next line, here in the same way, I'm going to make sure to put in the h2 tag, close it off. I'm going to put in projects. In the next line, in the same way, I'm going to put in a paragraph tag. As you can see, I'm going to put in details about the project. Now we are also done with the paragraph tag. I'm going to make sure to put in a full stop so it is showing that it has end. Now after this section, I'm going to do the same thing. Now another thing that we can try doing over here, after this h2, I'm going to create a div class. There we go. Div class is equal to double quotation projects. There we go. So we have also defined it. Now we want to close this off. Now after closing this off, you can see we have project 1. Okay, so here I'm going to put in the div tag at the end before the section. There we go. We have the div tag right over here. I'm going to make sure it lines up perfectly. Now on the next line of after div, I'm going to put in h3 tag for the body, project 1. I'm going to make sure this is also inside of the same indentation level. Now after this section, in the same way, I'm going to create another section ID for my contact. Section ID equal to contact. There we go. This is how you want to keep it. Now on the next line, I'm going to put in H2, which is going to say contact. Now after H2, I'm going to put in a paragraph tag. I'm going to put in, let's say, email colon. Here I'm going to put in example and put in @example.com. Now the paragraph tag should end right over here, and we also have the section. Now before ending the whole thing, we have to make sure we connect it with our script, or which is our JavaScript. So here I'm going to put in script src, then put in equal script.js. Then the last thing is basically closing off the tag. Now as we're done with this whole thing, what we want to do is we want to save up this file. So after saving up this file, you can try running it, and you can also try going online with it. So to check if everything is there and is working properly. So I'm going to click on go live and wait for a bit. And if you see like this, about, projects, contact, so it means that it has been done properly. So now let's get going into VS Code again to customize our CSS file. Now this is where every visualization or every customization of how the web page is going to look like is going to go into. First off, we're going to customize our body. So define in body, open up the third bracket. First off, I'm going to customize the font family. The font family is going to be very simple, which is going to be Arial, Helvetica, Sans Serif. Now I'm going to keep it like this. I'm going to put in a margin value, colon. Now here, I'm going to put in 0 as we don't want any. Now after margin, I want a padding value. This padding value is also going to be 0 because I don't want any space. And there is no buttons where I should be putting in any padding. Now here I'm going to put in the background color. Now here I'm going to be using a very simple method. First off, put in F4, F4, F4. Now this should create a white color. Now let's go off to the next section as we're done customizing our body. Here I'm going to put in the header. Now the header should contain a background color. Now in the same way, I'm going to make sure I put in 3 trees. There we go. Now it should create a color somewhat like this. Now also I'm going to put in a specific color which should be defined with white. Now after color, I'm going to put in a padding value which should have, let's say, 10 pixels. Now after padding, I want to put in a text alignment where it should center, or let's say I'm going to put it at center. This should be looking a lot more better when you put it at the center and is also aligned properly. Now I'm going to put in the nav UL, which is the nav, like, unlisted or unordered list. Now after the unordered list, I'm going to open it up, and in this third bracket, what I first want to put in is going to be the list style. So start off putting in the list style. Even if you don't want any style, you should make sure to put in none, or else it's not going to be aligned. Now after that, I'm going to put in a padding value, which is also going to be 0 in this case. Now we have defined the nav unordered list, but there are a couple of listed orders and also a couple of lists that we want to put in. So here I'm going to put in nav ULLI. Open up the third bracket. I'm going to put in the display. The display is going to be inline. Now in the next section, I'm going to put in the margin value, and this specific margin is going to have 0, but I'm going to put in 15 on the width or the height. So starts off with width and then ends with the height. So here I'm going to put in 15 px. Now move on to the next line. I'm going to put in nav, ULLI, then put in A. Open up the third bracket, and here I'm going to put in the specific color. Now, after this color, I'm going to make sure to put in specific values. I'm going to put in white, put in text, decoration. Now, the decoration should also be none in this case. Now, the last thing that we want to put in is going to be the section. Now, even though this is going to be the last one, but obviously there's an optional thing that we want to apply. The section should have a padding value of 20px on each and every corner. Now, the last thing, which is totally optional, is the project. So here I'm going to put in the project value, open up the third bracket. Here, I'm going to put in the background color, which should be white in this case. And the next thing is going to be the padding value. I'm going to put in 10px. And also, I'm going to put in a margin value, which is also going to be 10px on the width and 0px on the height. And also, I'm going to put in a border radius, which should be, let's say, 5px. Okay, so we have applied and customized our CSS file too. I'm going to put on save. And then the last thing that we want to do to apply some interactivity is going to be the script.js file. Now, in the script.js file, it's going to be very simple. Just first off, put in documents. This is how you start it off. .add. And put in add event listener. Now, I'm not going to be describing everything that I show you in this JavaScript because I have separate classes for it. Then you have to define in the DOM content loader. Just put it in just how I put it. After this quotation, put in a comma, open up the parentheses, keep it empty, use the arrow function, and after the arrow function, open up the third brackets. I'm going to put in the alert. After alert, open up the parentheses, double quotation inside, and here I'm going to put in welcome to my portfolio. There we go. It should end right over there. Put in an exclamation mark to make it look a bit better, and then open or close it off with a semicolon at the end. Now also at the end, put in a semicolon so that everything has been end right over here. I'm going to put in document dot add event listener, DOM content loader, open up the parentheses, arrow function, and then third brackets, and then the alert. Now, the last thing that you basically have to do is you can run the project in a specific browser, just like I did. So here, I'm going to go off into index.html, and I'm going to run the whole thing. Now, when you run the whole thing, it is basically going to be very simple to run. First off, you have to make sure you need the live server opened and also installed in VS Code, and then go off to the index.html file, and first off, dispose it if it is already online, and then we're going to go directly over here. Now you can see this is how this portfolio looks like. I'm a beginner. We have about. Now also, to create each and every one of these project pages, you basically have to create more HTML file, such as named projects, then contact, and also you have to connect it with each and every one of them. Okay, so that is also very simple to do. I might even show you how you'll be able to customize it. So let's go off into VS Code again. Now here, what you want to do is you can create a new file. Here I'm going to put in, let's say, project.html. Now here, in the same way, I'm going to make sure I put in a doc type. Now here, after doc type, I'm going to put in HTML. Now in this HTML, I'm going to put in the head tag. Inside the head tag, title, project, body. I'm going to put in H1. Let's say the title is going to be just project. And after the H1, I'm going to put in a paragraph tag, or let's say an H2 tag, H2, to show it that this is my project panel, or let's say project page. Now we have saved up this file. Now, one thing that you can do is we have this section ID of projects, right? And we also have this over here called href project and then connecting to the project. And this is basically the header. Now, instead of using this hash, it's basically very simple. Just here, type in project.html. Now, this should connect it up properly. Now, we're going to dispose it first, and then we're going to go live again. Now, when I click on project, it's going to take me to that specific page called project. This is my project page. So you can see how simple it is. If you want to do the same thing with, let's say, the contact, first off, make a new file, contact.html. There we go. Put in doc type HTML. I'm going to put in HTML, head tag, title should be contact, body, h1. I'm just going to put in contact. And the last thing is a paragraph tag. This is my contact page. Now you want to save up this file, go off to index.html, contact.html. This is exactly what you want to put in. Now you also have to make sure that it is also connecting or the same case with the file that has been saved. Now in the same way, if we dispose it and go back live again, it should open up the page. If I click on contact, there we go. You can go back, projects, and this is the about page. Beginner, then we also have the projects, and also we have the contact. So this is all that you need to know about this class. There are also a couple of different steps of how you will be able to, reach it. So one thing you have to basically keep in mind is that when you use the HTML, that is the main web page, style CSS is for styling, and script.js is for interactivity. Now, if you also want to apply in, let's say, images or folder for images, you have to make sure to put in another new folder inside of this portfolio web. And then you're going to put all of those images inside. And then you can also make sure to apply these images inside of this project, which is also basically very simple. If you want to apply an image, that is also basically very simple. So let me show you how you should be able to achieve that. First off, open up any browser that you have, and you can see we also have the title My Portfolio. From here, I'm going to go off to pixels.com. Now from pixels.com, what we want to do is we want to apply in a project photo. So here, put in project, hit on enter, and there we go. We have this project, and so on. So from here, I want to apply just one of these projects. So let me say I want this photo, or let's say let me just apply in something like this. Now we have applied or downloaded this photo, okay? But first off, we're going to go off into VS Code. Now here, when you click on Portfolio Web, right click on it, and then click Find in Folder. Okay, or click on Reveal in File Explorer. So this is the exact folder. Here I'm going to click on New, click on Folder. I'm going to put in, let's say, Images. Okay, so inside this Images, I'm going to make sure to drag this directly into our file. There we go. So we have the file inside of this Images. Now let's get off into VS Code again. Now here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply in a section. Inside the section, we have this called div class project, right? You can see project is div class project. And after that, we have h3. And after h3, we have the paragraph tag. But instead of applying the paragraph tag, I'm going to apply another line. Now, whenever you want to apply in images, it is basically very simple. Type in img src. You can see we have script src, but for image, we have img src. Equal, double quotation. I'm going to put in, let's say, images, capital, images. And after that, another thing that we want to do is we have this file, pixels, pixabay, and then this exact name. You can also rename it, but you have to make sure you have the exact name applied. First off, I'm going to put in alt equal, and then put in, let's say, project 1. This is what I want to put in. And after that, I'm going to also apply in a class. Class is going to be equal to, let's say, the project image. This is how you want to keep it. Now at the end here, I'm just going to close off the tag, and then I'm going to save up the file again. Now another thing, dispose the file again, and then go live again. That is basically very simple. Now when we go live, you can see this is the exact image that we will see. Now even though the resolution is really big, so this is how it should look like. But if you apply in a smaller image, it will be the exact size that you want it to be. Okay, so thank you for watching this video up till the very end, and hope you understood about everything in this class. If you still have any confusion or any question about any part of this lesson, feel free to ask me anytime. I'm always there to help you out. So without any further ado, let's move on to our next class of full stack web development.